Good day, everyone. As the title of the video says, this one is about Nicole Mericle and the Dream Team. We're going to recap a little bit of last year and let you know what's up for next year, the 2022 Dream Team. But before we get to that, I want to thank a ton of patrons. Here is everybody on the $5 or more level. They're coming to you now. There's a bunch of them. I got to keep talking because there's just so bloody many of them. The rest of you that are below that, that's fine too, and you're awesome as well. But I thought I'd give a shout out to all those folks given $5 or more. Thank you so much. That's the third level. I forget even what we call them, but go to the patron thing. Now's the time for you to do that. You've enjoyed these videos over the years. You've enjoyed the podcast. You've enjoyed the live coverage. You've enjoyed the kind of content that you really don't get anywhere else. Am I going to disparage a bunch of other OCR channels and content? No. But do I know we get insight and interviews and access more than anybody else? I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say unique, unbelievably unique. You won't get certain stuff anywhere. And you can support that by becoming a Patreon member. We also have some very special things that we do for the patrons, other than get thanked here on the air. We have a Secret Santa coming up. Oh, yes. So not too late to get in on this year's version of that. Also, we do sometimes our very own chats. We do some Zooms with each other. Got our whole little community going. So go ahead and hit that button below. You'll see it in the link there, along with links to Nicole's Dream Team. So let's get to it. Away we go.
So let's talk about the Dream Team. What did we learn in 2021? What did we learn that we didn't know this time? So last year, when did you launch it? Did you launch it at the end of 2020?
It was early. It was early this year.
Okay, so January,
Yeah,
February.
like January. Yeah.
All right. So what did we learn this year that we didn't know going in?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've learned a lot about just kind of like where the program is going, I guess, and like how best to support athletes, and that it's really hard to get 5 people on a Zoom call.
Yes.
That's what I've learned. I don't know. What do you? I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly.
Well, I guess you probably had certain expectations. Some things might have exceeded. Some things might have, what's the opposite of exceeded? Fell short.
Fallen short. Yeah. I would say the biggest bummer is just that we had injuries, and that's always a really big bummer. But it wasn't something that I wasn't, expecting or wasn't prepared for. I mean, we brought on Lily to the team knowing that she was in a point right then that she was actually injured. So, um, I guess like I had hoped that we'd be able to get her fully healthy and back to running, and that hasn't been the case yet. But it's not like it's not like a failure of the program or a failure of her or of, I don't know, of anyone. I think it's just sometimes injuries can be really complicated, and unfortunately Lily's is like a really hard one to diagnose. So um, yeah, and besides that, expectations, I didn't really know how these athletes would perform. Some of them, like Emma, were like a big wild card because she had never raced before in also race, and so I certainly like, saw a lot of potential there, but didn't know how it would actually go. And I would say that I think learning more about her and learning how little she's able to run, um, she's quite impressive as an athlete. And the performance at the North American Championships was really exciting. Her finishing first, and then the Spartan World Championships was somewhat heartbreaking. Her falling off the rig at the very last second. Um, and yeah, I just think that that was like she had some really great races, and that was exciting. And then Annie in particular, I think it's hard for people to see that she had a lot of progression leading up to this year, that it didn't just happen in 1 year, but she also had like a breakout season. And so I just feel like fortunate that I was able to be, part of that. And yeah, I guess
What
learning
about
the skills too, but
what about the program as a whole? So if we were talking to you in January and said, "Oh, we have a peek into the future, and here's how the program went in its first year," how do you feel it went in terms of, like I said, sort of expectations or things that went surprisingly well, things that didn't work out? Like other than it's tough to communicate with the team.
um, yeah, I think that I I definitely see things being planned out a little differently. Um, most strikingly, like group calls, whether that's just like myself and the athletes, or group calls with like our clinical psychologist or mental performance coach. We can do. I think we'll have a lot more of those next year. And this year was kind of it was a scramble, honestly. Like I announced it and I knew everything wasn't in place and wasn't ready, but I was like, if I don't do it, then I may never do it.
Right.
If I wait to have the funding, if I wait to have like every little thing nailed down and like a absolutely perfected plan of attack in terms of different, mentoring sessions and group calls ironed out. I I don't know. I'm not a planner, but I'm also fine with having a little things up in the air. And I just realized that a lot of things weren't going to be in place, or they would take a long time to get in place if I didn't go for it. So with that said, yeah, there was a lot of things that weren't organized, like um, like calls and like I don't know. I think like me getting injured was also it was kind of good and it was kind of bad for the group because um, it was like a mental toll on me. And there was like weeks that I was really productive with the team and it was probably better that I had time to to put into the logistics of like getting the athletes into races or um, like getting uniforms and like logos on them and things like that. But then I also think there's points of times that I was like a little like depressed and just kind of like not as productive because of that and wasn't like as engaged with like everyone. So that's one thing that kind of learned like some of the girls are really great about reaching out to me and being like, hey, I need this or like let's talk and that's awesome. And then some of them are like not as like forward and so like I have to reach out more. And so if I'm not reaching out more, then it's like it doesn't happen. So just kind of like learn a lot about how different people communicate too, and like the ways that I have to adapt the way that I communicate, depending on the person. So
Yeah, it sounds like being a full-time business person and a full-time athlete are very difficult things, and I think that's a very basic professional athlete dilemma.
yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's a little bit daunting knowing that hopefully I'll be returning to racing soon, and we'll have like my own like full time training and race schedule, on top of trying to like manage the whole team as well. But I also have this great team of experts that are like again like they're really enthusiastic about the group too. And there's a lot of people. Leia is one of my partners and she's really helpful, but a lot of it comes down to me being more organized and like and really allowing people to help too. So that's one thing that's exciting is like the end of the year most people on the team or most experts said well, we want to do more. And so it's just a matter of making that happen.
Right.
So I think we're going to do more next year, basically.
More. Well, let's.
Yeah, we'll do more forward facing things. We'll do more internal calls. We're bringing more athletes on, and so the structure of the team, it's going to be different than I foresaw things going to. I thought it would be 1 year program, cut and dry, move on to like 5 new athletes the following year, um, but have really realized that there's value to progressing athletes longer than 1 year, both from like a coaching standpoint for sure, but then also in terms of if we're trying to build a community, then having athletes stay on board to grow that community makes a lot of sense. So we'll be we'll have all of the athletes for next year that we had this year. They won't all be receiving everything that we offered this year, and so it'll be this year is kind of more about identifying specifically like what they still need help in, and then hoping to like still provide that, whereas while still bringing on new athletes that we're fully supporting.
Well, I can tell you that I spoke with someone that I can't remember if she won or just podiumed her first Spartan, and I just saw her Instagram, and she's like, D1 athlete. And I was like, she's new, and I'm like, oh, have you talked to Nicole yet? And she said she actually did apply next year, but didn't get in um, for whatever reason. And so, yeah, I'm going to send people your way because I think like I'm all about getting these people, more. I think basically what happened was she did great her freshman sophomore year, then got injured or whatever it was. But I don't know if you know who I'm talking about or you remember, but
I think so. Yeah. A runner?
uh, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
And
I'm not
it's
embarrassed to
recently
say her
happened?
name. I just didn't want to go look it up right now. Um, but I would reach out to these people anyway. Like I'm always excited. I
Hmm.
somebody makes the podium. I'm trying to find them on IG. Oh, look, they're new. Cool. We reach out. Hey, do you plan on racing more? Blah blah blah. But now that you specifically have this, it definitely gives me something to say. Hey, maybe you should look into this. So let's talk about. I think last year when you started, there was the team versus the community, and you had like 5 levels at first, which I thought might have been confusing, but you seem to maybe you simplify that. So what is there in 2022? So like you're clearly gonna bring Emma and Annie back, and like so then and they're two of the team members. But so like what does it look like? What's it gonna look like, even if you don't know all the members yet?
Yeah. So we're opening up applications, and we'll be bringing on at least 3 people, maybe even more, and those people will join the existing athletes, the 5 of them, who will they'll be athletes on the team, but they'll also probably take on more leadership roles. So part of the projected 2020 plans is to kind of give back more. So whether that's like mentoring additional athletes in the community, doing more volunteering at races, and just like more community kind of like outreach in general. So I think that we have like a great core group of women on the team that have now been through this program. They've learned a lot, and they've also been able to bond and feel like they're part of a team. And so now I think it'll be a really great structure to welcome new athletes in, and then also be able to kind of like turn around and like reach out more to other racers in the field.
So if somebody applied last year and didn't get in, they're welcome to apply again.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully people from this year kind of have a better idea of like the athlete we're kind of looking for. Um the same things apply that I said last year. So if anybody is new to OCR, they can apply. If anyone has been in OCR for a number of years, they can apply. Um Generally speaking, we're looking for athletes that are in need of the support. So if you're an athlete that is like, like you have your own sponsors or you have like a really great support system already, then it may not be the best program for you. And I think some people might have seemed like clear choices, but because because they were already, they're already coming into the sport with a lot of support, and a lot of like prior knowledge of really like how to be a successful athlete. They may not have been chosen for the team. So we're looking for people with both potential, but also people that can have, there's like a lot of room for development, and that this all of this support can like really help them the most.
Are there tiers like main team and then community team, and like are there different tiers?
Um, so so there is Elevate community, the Elevate OCR community, which is open to any women in OCR, and the point of that is so we again can have like a clear place to kind of like reach out to. Um, there's open racers, there's age groupers, there's everyone's in that group, and they we have the same experts that we have working with the Dream Team. They contribute articles to that platform, and so you receive expert knowledge from all of these experts. We've had workshops with different people. We have like regular group calls. We've had a book club. We've done a lot of things. Some in-person events too, and so we definitely are in the process of kind of like trying to focus in a little bit more and figure out what it is that we can do really well for the women's OCR community. So that that being said, there's still things that are up in the air for next year, and I don't know exactly how it's going to change and what it's going to look like. But I think more in-person events is something like pretty paramount, and then possibly introducing an element of some level of mentoring. So again, that would look like the athletes of the Dream Team and leaders of Elevate mentoring other athletes in sport. Um, and what else is going on? We plan to launch a new website. So right now, the Elevate platform lives on a private community website. Um, but I think we found that there would be value in having a more public facing element. So we'll be launching a different website that'll be completely public facing, and all of that content that's been really beneficial will be available hopefully to anyone who wants to read it, to men too. And um, so the point is to just bring kind of like more exposure to women's OCR in general by doing that, with also hopefully retaining some sort of private group where women can feel safe to come in and connect with other women in OCR and have still like have that like tight knit community feel. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so what else do you want folks to know?
Ooh, um, that's a good question. I just basically wanted to get the word out that Elevate and OCR Dream Team are going forward next year, and um, people can check out the website to find out more information about both of those. Um, we'd love people to join Elevate platform. Again, I think we'll do a lot more in-person meetups next year. Hopefully, I'll be around
Like
a little bit
like
more in person.
like at races, or you mean like group runs? Like what do you mean?
I'm definitely open to doing more group runs. I've held a couple events here in Colorado, um, and that's something that I think there's a lot of potential there. One problem that we have in our sport in general is that we go to these races, but then there's not that many OCR gyms around, and not everybody even trains at those kind of locations, and so there's kind of this missing piece that is like the day-to-day community, right, in OCR. So I think that it's something that probably yeah, maybe not just women but like men too in OCR would probably benefit more from having more like local events happen. So I would love to see that happen. I can't be everywhere across the country, so that would entail bringing more people on that want to do those kind of things and want to like establish meetups and group runs and things like that.
Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit that link below if you want to learn more about the OCR Dream Team and how to apply and all of that fun stuff. And also another reminder to join the Patreon club. Throw in a few shekels. It's the giving time of the season as a way to support all this bloody content you get for free in your face and in your ears and in your eyes all the time. Love you, miss you, mean it. I have got to run.